I'll first introduce myself. John.
Hey, John.
James, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So, Nobility. This looks really exciting.
Yeah.
But your the first one we got introduced to you for was through Hero, and you played Ando.
Yes.
It was, of course, the hero with no powers, until the end, where we learned you had a very special power
Yes.
of being able to boost other people's powers.
And shoot electricity.
That was pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
So what was it like in being in that role and being in your first introduction to sci-fi?
It was good. It was literally my introduction to this world, and I feel like it was my graduate school in television. I got to really see how a TV show is made from the inside, and it was such a huge collaboration. We had over 250 people working on the show every day, and once I got to travel with the show and go around the world, I think it's the first time I got to realize the impact of what television can do, how it can bring people together from all different geographies, cultures, and literally being able to meet fans around the world, just really appreciate what we can do in entertainment.
Speaking of the world, you actually learned Japanese for that role?
I did, yeah. So my family's originally from South Korea, and my dad actually used to work in Japan when I was young, and then I took a little bit of Japanese when I was in college, but for the show, I really needed to learn it, for real, intensively. So working with the coach every day, and I remember the first season because my language was still, just beginning. So probably spent about 40 hours per episode just working on the Japanese.
Wow.
One. Yeah.
And so that show you got to work with Sulu from Star Trek. This one you get to work with Walter Koenig as well. So you've now worked with two different Star Trek actors. Have you gotten to meet or work with any of the other stars of the original series?
I've met Leonard Nimoy at one of these conventions and had a brief chat. But yeah, I actually didn't even connect the dots until you mentioned it. It'd be great if I somehow come across basically all the original cast.
Yeah, like check them off the list.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a blast. I love working with George. He practically played my uncle on Heroes, and we shared a lot of stories on set. He's been around for a long time, and then I love working with Walter. Walter's so funny, and it's funny because when you first meet him, he's a little bit contained, and then on set, you let him loose, and he plays such a funny character on this show, and then we had a great hallway scene that I just love working with him.
So you said that you got connected with EJ through a board game night. Are you a big fan of playing board games?
I love board games, yeah. Settlers of Catan was a favorite for a while, and it was actually where I met Cass first, who eventually connected with the EJ. Yeah, man, Cranium is me and my fiance's favorite. We love hosting game nights, and I actually got to go on Geek and Sundry's. They have a celebrity board game show called Tabletop.
Yes, love that show.
That Will Wheaton hosts, and so I was a player where we played Settlers. Yeah.
Very good. How'd you do on that one?
I finished second.
That's good.
Yeah. I sort of dug myself into a hole in the beginning, but then I got out of it, and I came pretty close.
I always just go for longest road. That's all I really care about when I play that.
Yeah. Although that one's tricky because someone will always take it away from you.
They cut you right off.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a fool's gold, if you ask me. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and best of luck with the project.
Thank you, man.
Can't wait to see it.
Thank you. All right. Pleasure.
Here at Magic Game TV. So you have played now a couple iconic roles in sci-fi. Not only in Stargate, but also X-Men, Magneto. What was it like to do that voice? It's like such a big character.
Well, it was a bit daunting because, Ian's voice is so recognizable as Magneto, so it was kind of trying to be my own voice but still have it be recognized as Magneto. So it was a bit of a challenge, but it was just so flattering to even be considered to do a voice like that. It's X-Men is kind of one of my favorite sort of comic book franchises. So it was flattering and humbling.
It's one of those things like with the Joker's voice, where many different people have played him, but you each take on your own kind of thing with that. So, did you want to bring something of your own to it as well as emulating and trying to be recognizable?
I didn't want to. I wanted to speak in a how do I put this? In a somewhat Victorian voice, but not to be overtly British.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where it took a little bit of finessing it a bit, but that's. I mean, you definitely want to pay homage to an iconic actor who does it, but you also kind of want to make it your own also. So.
Now, on top of those roles, I think probably the greatest sci-fi role you played was probably in Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark.
Yes,
the recent
definitely.
hit here. What was that experience like?
I loved. I took my kids. My kids range from 23 to 9, so to get them all to do something at once is almost impossible. And the one thing that they agreed on was that they all wanted to go see Sharknado. So when I saw how much they liked it, and then I got the script for Mega Shark vs. Mecha Shark, I was like, well, is this something I ran it by my kids, and they demanded in unison that I do it. And it's as long as you know what it is going in, it's fun. It's just a fun part of the job, But if you go in expecting 12 Angry Men, you're gonna be in for a rough few weeks. But I went into it expecting it to be fun, and it was. And that whole genre has such a great fan base that it's really just a kind of a fun part of the work.
I think you had a lot of great comedy to the role. The subtle little comedic bits you put in there, I think it really added to it.
It was funny working with Elizabeth Rome because a bunch of names had been thrown around to play my wife. And when they called and said Elizabeth Rome, I was like, from Law and Order? So the first time we met, I was like, let me see. You went from Sam Waterston to me, from American Hustle to Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark. Who did you piss off? But we ended up having a really great time. So and that truly is what it is. You go and do stuff like that to have fun, and that's kind of how it has to be approached, And as long as you do that, they're a hoot to do. So.
No, I actually had kind of a personal question. So I watched a bit of Stargate SG-1 myself, and I loved the show. Do you have?
You only watched a bit of it.
Yes. But with your performances, do you find that there is a technique where you have an actor's secret that you keep from everybody, even your director? Do you use that type of motivation, or do you straight from that?
People ask me because he's so Teal'c is so diametrically opposed to who I am, and so it's not so much a secret anymore. People always ask me what did you do to remain so stoic, and all I did was kind of think about my first wife. And that kind of just wiped all the joy off of my face. No,
So your first wife, just nothing on your face anymore. Was there any specific things about your wife that was the inspiration for that?
Let's let that lay where it.
Okay, I'll leave that. Sorry. All right.
I can get away with that as a one-off, but if I continue,
okay,
it's getting litigious.
Got it. Now, also in the interview, we had said that you were on the couch, and William Shatner was on the TV screen, and you had a foursome. But if we counted, it's you, your partner, and Shatner.
Well, Shatner on television was with a woman.
Oh, okay, there we go.
I just kind of led you there, and then just assumed that you would kind of take it from there.
Just want to make sure everyone's accounted for on that.
We were kind of, we got curious. I was like, wait, was there a third person in the room with you? Did it start off as a threesome?
Until I was 14.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's fun, guys.
Best of luck with the project.
Thank you so much, Chris.
All right, EJ de la Pena.
Howdy, howdy.
I'm pronouncing that correctly?
Close.
Okay. Now, the first thing I was intrigued by in looking up your past here was a little film called Jingle All the Way.
Yes.
What was that like?
That one was a heck of a lot of fun. You know, I was 8 years old working with folks that, you know, with A-list celebrities, and just, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a great way to grow up for me.
I also started out as a child actor, just doing some small stuff, and I was looking down, I saw a couple similarities on there, ER, you always got to do a stint on there, and Malcolm in the Middle. Did you just do the one episode of Malcolm in the Middle?
Yes, just the one. It was a small one-liner, yeah.
Well, more lines than I had. I was on like 3 seasons in the background as just one of the generic school kids.
So I had the line, but you had the time.
Yes, yeah, I got it.
Time. Boom.
You got to spend more time on there, you know. So, it's cool stuff. So you are a sci-fi fan then, just all out. Have you worked on other sci-fi projects before this?
Well, there was one called Starship Rising, which is currently out on Walmart and iTunes, that with the same director as Nobility, Neil Johnson. And that was a real treat for me, because that was my first foray as an actor, as a professional, into sci-fi. Even though I grew up, you know, working with all these celebrities and working on all these projects, not once did I ever get the opportunity to work in sci-fi. And so when this opportunity came along to work on Starship, it was just, I had to take it. You know, it's like, come on, I get to be, you know, this ship's equivalent of Sulu. So hey, let's do it. You know, yeah, it was a lot of fun and
Great genre to work in.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and coming on to Nobility, you know, it's really interesting because we have such an amazing cast. You know, Walter Koenig, Doug Jones, Chris Judge, Cass Anvar, James Kyson, you know, and more. Tori Higginson, Ellen Dubin, and I'm sure I'm missing one or two because I always seem to be missing one or two. Miracle Laurie from Dollhouse. And we have such an excellent cast, and they're all from the shows that I grew up watching and loving and wanting to be a part of. So as a sci-fi fan, even though I worked with all the folks I worked with, when I started putting the cast together, it was very, very exciting for me.
Now this has the comedy influence as well on top of the sci-fi. Did you have a favorite sci-fi comedy growing up?
Ooh, you know, I was never really exposed to sci-fi comedy growing up.
Like maybe like Ghostbusters, you know,
Okay.
or Back to the Future.
You know what?
Kinda.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm thinking TV series.
Yeah. There were not a lot of TV on there.
Firefly, you know, Stargate had some fun moments, but no, yeah, Ghostbusters was an amazing one. What other ones were there?
I think you know you get that, and you've got Back to the Future.
Oh my God, how do I forget Back to the Future?
It's a lot to spend that much money to make a comedy with sci-fi, and like it's a gamble. But back in the '80s, especially, we got a lot more of those.
Oh yeah, well. With Back to the, you know, it was really funny because before I even conceived of Nobility, I was thinking, you know, I was watching a lot of the films, the comedies that are coming out that are very, you know, over the top, slapstick, and you know, if you like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of had this itch for something more like Back to the Future, that kind of, you know, drier, you know, that quick beat, you know, wait, did he just say that? You know, that kind of humor that you got with Back to the Future, that you got with Ghostbusters. And so when I started writing Nobility, that was kind of what I ended up going with.
You start with the story first, and then you add the comedy into it, rather than just being a comedy and trying to loosely put a story together through it.
Precisely.
Yeah, actually. So you told the crowd that a few things were up in the air so far. So if your wish could come true, how would this blow up in your mind?
This would blow up by being an original series on something like Hulu, Netflix, or Amazon. Personally, I feel that the internet is the way entertainment is moving, and I'd like to be on the crest of that wave.
We agree here.
Yeah, we
There we
definitely
go.
And you also said that you preferred Star Trek over Star Wars, which is, I don't know. If you could sum up the reasoning behind that, how would you sum it up?
A lot of it is personal taste. You know, when I was a little kid, I'd watch the same 3 Star Wars films over and over again, and then I'd go see a new Star Trek episode. So that kind of nudged me that direction. Nowadays, I enjoy Star Wars. Is a lot of fun. There's a lot of action. You know, you got good versus evil and great VFX. But with Star Trek, I get more of that intellectual side,
Yeah.
and that really appeals to me. So you know, personally, I play like, oh, I'm a Trekkie, and bad Star Wars fans, bad. But honestly, I do enjoy both, and both have their merits and have their detractors. So a lot of folks find Star Trek boring. Other folks find
Yeah, some do.
yeah. Oh, you know what? Them's our fighting words. Hey, no.
I don't know, I'm all for original series. That's fine. You got Walter Koenig. That's
Yeah. Mooney will kick your butt. Mooney's who
Yes.
Walter Koenig plays in our show. But yeah, so I enjoy both. I have a lot of fun with both. I just recently watched Star Wars Clone Wars, but I always come back to Trek. That's my old standby.
Fair enough.
Can't please them all. All right. Well, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
Good luck with the project.
Thanks, man. And great meeting you guys.
Thanks.